Welcome to TradeTheMBA.com. This is Jonas Reports for the 15th. Well, the hand wringing has begun where media is now blaming the economists who somehow got the inflation thing wrong. It is confusing for so many. They don't know what to do. In the meantime, there's just more good news as far as deals being made as the president is in Qatar signing nearly $1 trillion in deals for major equipment as well as internet and everything else, uh, data centers, you name it. So, they're stuck in a quandary because they didn't get the inflation they were, anticipating. And what do? In the meantime, the reading's pretty clear. Cyan under red, it's close, and green's still rising. So we expect that the ES will reach the 100% as the Nasdaq already has. That's the built-in scenario. It's already there, but it was, of course, declining 100%. But the Nasdaq clearly excited about these prospects, and the fact that going forward things don't look so bad. Of course, there are obviously considerations within that, but Treasury is still confused in that stance. Rates going to go down, rates going to go up. They think that rates are going to go up, or at least marginally from here. Which, of course, they're anticipating that this was going to go up, and now oil pulling back into that range, and that becomes everyone's got their eye on it. We're not the only ones looking there because it's pretty clear that impacts everything. And the euro, yeah, we need to talk about the eurozone. It's a disaster, and they're going to get further behind the curve the longer they wait to achieve some kind of resolution when it comes to tariffs. They're not going to be interested in doing it because it exposes the problems with their own model. If the healthcare thing with the drugs goes through, though, it's going to be a huge shift for a lot of these European countries because they're cost of healthcare for their people will go through the roof as drug companies have to raise their prices to accommodate for the fact they're going to be losing a lot of money in the U.S. But again, that's deflationary from a consumer standpoint, and that's a net positive for the market. So there's no other way to read that. Now, of course, if you're in healthcare stocks, it's not so great, but well, you know. These are the realities of seeing things. You can see the spread here from a DOC, though, very strong to the downside for gold. Not a shock. We'd already had MBI White leading, and without the inflation, yeah, it's a problem unless you have world issues, which miraculously, other than the Ukraine situation, everything else seems to be much quieter than it's been in a long time, which is pretty symptomatic of what happened during the last Trump administration. There was more peace than there was conflict. In fact, it was the only time when we hadn't got into a new conflict. And, everyone thought this Yemen thing was going to blow up more, and that seems to have calmed down as well. So for Bitcoin and that, it just leaves them waiting for the next, what's going to happen breakout. And obviously, the likelihood is it's more to the upside than downside at this particular stage, barring some unique reading that comes through. And of course, now they're pinning their hopes on the next quarter numbers to give them their inflation that they've been dreaming for. But if the Chinese situation is resolved on trade, momentary hiccup, and with the amount of increased inventory that are people sucked up early, supply issues not necessarily a problem. So we looked at it for the 50K. We'd had a couple of positive extremes, going right about to here, and we just filled those back in place. So we also have a full reset of shakeout, everything like that, and kind of getting into that oversold. Minus 14 is not horrible, but you get into the minus 20 range, then yeah, definitely. So we'll be watching at the 50%. Right now, MBI White leads, so that potentially would mean that you could have a little bit of trouble at the 50%. So the indicators, but you can see how choppy it got in between intraday because it just you have two camps now, and they're fighting it out, and nobody's won at this particular stage. So this is that bare knuckle kind of like, well, how do we force a decision or transition? And they don't know yet. So uh, we get these periods, and it'll start to even out. But it's going to be a hard press to suggest that recession is anywhere near because you can't have a growth period, and you're going to need at least two more quarters of negative growth to have that happen. And you had significant growth for the readings, so that's problematic from the doom and gloomers. So that puts it into a new perspective. You can see from the European session down 30 points there, filling in the last gap of that from the positive extreme. So not horrible stuff. Just continue to play along with it and see how it goes. As always, though, anything relevant, I'll put it on our team chat. Have a good one. Trade well.